Hello friends, today we are going to see income tax chapter and into that capital gain head of income. So what is capital gain? Let us understand in detail in the first section. Here we are going to see the introduction of the capital gain, wherein we will see important definitions, important concepts, charging section and the basic concepts such as capital assets and transfer of such capital assets. So let's start with the today's topic, that is capital gain. Capital gain has charging section 45 subsection 1. Profits on gain arising on transfer of capital asset shall be chargeable under the head capital gains. And this charging section reads as any profit or gains arising on transfer of capital assets affected in the previous year shall be chargeable to the income tax under head capital gains and shall be deemed to be income of previous year in which the transfer took place. It simply means whenever such asset is being transferred in that previous year, it shall be made taxable and we as other incomes, we tax it in the assessment year. So any profit or gain that we receive on transfer of the capital asset is termed as an capital gain. We can call it as a profit or gain. It can be anything. So charging section is any additional benefit that we receive as compared to the cost of that particular asset or expenditure incurred on that asset till date can be termed as a profit or gain on that transfer of capital asset and will be charged to income tax under this head of income. So this was the charging section. There are few important points which capital gain needs to satisfy, like if the income should be under the head capital gain, then there are few essential conditions to be satisfied to charge any income under this head. So what are those? First is there must be capital asset. As we have seen here, there must be a capital asset. Then assessee needs to transfer such capital asset. Just capital asset holding is not sufficient. Transferring of such capital asset is also required, and at the same time there must be profit or gain on transfer of such asset. Now here profit and gains include negative profits as well. It means losses or any other negative profits as well. So it should not be at cost. It can be above the cost or it can be below the cost. All these things can be considered under this charging section of the capital gain head. So these three conditions are very essential. I repeat, first is capital asset should be there, then transfer of such capital asset should be there, and any profit or gain that shall be realizing out of the transaction, and it should be in regards to the asset. Whatever asset we are holding, it should, the profit or gain should be in regard to the asset at the time of transfer, not before transfer, after transfer. So it should be on arising of the transfer. So this was the charging section. We are along with this charging section, see what we are going to see today. We saw just now charging section. Now charging section comprises two things, section 2 subsection 14 plus section 2 subsection 47, which says what is section 2 subsection 14? It is definition of capital asset, because we need to understand in income tax which assets are termed as in capital assets and which assets are not termed as in capital assets. So inclusions and exclusions are to be understood in this definition. So this is section 214, and the second part is the definition of transfer, which is section 2 subsection 47. So if I add up this 214 and 247, so both these subsections coming together gives me the complete meaning of the charging section. So charging section is capital asset plus its transfer. Now Again, in detail, we are going to see the concept of capital asset, which will give me some additional details regarding capital assets, that is types of capital assets, because not all assets are having the same nature. So we'll see further what are the types. Now let us see in detail exactly this equation 214 and 247 summation is equal to 45 subsection 1. Then let's see these main sections right now. What are capital assets? As per our lay language, we can say it can be any bullion, jewelry, or the money, whatever currency, real estate, or it can be the house that we own, the farmhouse, guest house, etc. Actual definition. What is this actual definition? Let's see. So capital asset under section 2 subsection 14 means any property of any kind held by an assessee, whether or not connected with his business or profession. So when any person holds property and which is in relation to business, or it might not be in relation to business or profession. It's not compulsory that it should be in relation to business and profession. It can be not related to that also. It means there can be a personal asset as well. And second inclusion in the definition of capital asset is any securities held by a foreign institutional investor which has invested in such securities as per SEBI regulations. So whenever foreign institutional investors are investing in the securities and it is as per SEBI regulations, then it will be included in the definition of capital asset. So capital asset includes all such properties. Now this property may include anything: my residential house property, my business or profession workplace, then it can be my factory, then it can be my what you can say warehouse, my guest house, farmhouse, or it can be my agricultural land, it can be the jewelry that I am having, it can be precious stones and metals that I am owning, it can be my furniture, it can be my motor car, it can be my two-wheeler, anything. So capital asset includes. This definition is not an exhaustive definition. It says it is including this. So it's like many things are being excluded into this capital assets. So property of any kind held by an assessee makes it an inclusive definition. So we are done with this inclusion part. Let's move on to the next section. We will see some exclusions of capital assets. What are these exclusions? Let's see. So first thing that I will not include in my stock in trade will be any asset or any holding that I use for my business trading purpose is termed as a stock in trade. So what is this stock in trade? The things in which we deal, a trader deals. So that stock in trade will not be included in the capital assets. So it comes under the head exclusions of capital assets. Next comes your personal effects. What are personal effects? Any asset on which my personal effects are there. It means I use it for my personal purposes. Now again, you can find one word here, excluding. So all personal assets or all personal effects items are not excluded. Few items are included. It means exclusion to exclusions means minus minus plus. So whatever items you are going to see here, they will be again capital assets. So let's see it. So jewelry will not be my capital asset. So jewelry is going to be an jewelry is not a personal effect. It means jewelry is going to be my capital asset. Further, drawings are again not my personal effects. By drawings I mean then art or culture or sculptures, then archaeological collections, paintings, any work of art. So it means all these precious items and antique items whatever I am having are excluded from the personal effects. It means these items are capital assets. Exclusion to exclusion means inclusion in the definition. So it means they are capital assets. I repeat, we are seeing here exclusion part of the capital assets. So personal effects are excluded from the capital asset, but out of all those personal effects, we are not going to include these items in the personal effects. The 6 main exclusions are there from personal effect, which are amounting to capital asset as per section 2 subsection 40. Further, let's go on to further exclusions. These are the next exclusion is rural agricultural land. What is rural agricultural land? Any agricultural land which is situated in the rural area. So we are going to see something regarding that afterwards. Then comes gold bonds, then comes special bearer bonds, then comes gold deposit bonds. So these 3 bonds are issued by central government or the specified authority, and if they are issued by them, then they are excluded from the definition of capital assets. And now let's focus on to this rural agricultural land. What is it? Let's see. So I have 2 classification here. One is rural agricultural land and other is urban land. Or both the lands classification is for just an agricultural purpose only. So let's see. So when the population is less than 10,000, then that area itself, the entire area itself is called as a rural land. But if the population is beyond 10,000, up to 1 lakh rupees, then up to the within local limits and within 2 kilometers from such local limits will be termed as an urban land. But beyond such 2 kilometers, it will be rural land. So for example, this is our coast, or this is our borderline of a city which is having a population of 90,000 people. Then after this line, up to 2 kilometers, we will be having again urban land, and beyond such 2 kilometers, there will be a rural land. So it will be accordingly. So 1 lakh. Now moving on to third category or the third level. So when the population in that particular municipal corporation is 1 lakh to 10 lakh, then the population is 10 lakhs, up to 10 lakhs, then the limits to be considered are within local limits plus within 6 kilometers from such local limit. So just now we say that this is the border of our city. Then beyond this 6 kilometers will be searched, again a border will be drawn, and after that whatever the land, that will be termed as a rural land, provided it is not coming under any other municipal corporations these specified limits. So it is very much important to understand what exactly the rural land is and what exactly the urban land is. And the last criteria for rural and urban land classification is if the population is above 10 lakhs, then such limits of 2 kilometers and 6 kilometers amounts to 8 kilometers from the local limits, and beyond such 8 kilometers the further land is termed as a rural land. So this is how we are having again 6 exclusions to the definition of capital asset. First was our stock in trade, second was our personal effect which had a few exclusions again, and the third is rural agricultural land, next is gold bonds, special bearer bonds, and the last one is gold deposit bonds. So these are the 6 items which will be excluded from the definition of capital assets. Now let's see types of capital assets. What are these types of capital assets? They are classified as short term and long term. Now how the short term is classified, or what is the criteria for an asset to become a short term asset? Then we consider this element. What is it? Period of holding. If I am holding a particular asset for these limits, then I called it as a period of holding. This is less than 12 months, less than 24 months, less than 36 months. And if Exactly opposite is happening. I am holding a particular asset more than 12 months, more than 24 months, more than 36 months. Then in this case, my asset amounts to long-term asset, and here it was my short-term asset. Now which asset to be considered in 12 months, which to be considered in 24 months, and which to be considered in 36 months criteria is a matter of fact. Initially, in concept of period of holding of Income Tax Act, one provision is given that the asset should be held for less than 36 months or more than 36 months, and on basis of that there shall be the decision whether the asset is short-term asset or long-term asset. But there are some exceptions, or there are few assets for which these two criteria are being allocated. So now let's see those assets which are coming under 12 months and 24 months criteria. The assets which are not going to come under these criteria of 12 months and 24 months are by default under the criteria of this 36 months. Fine. So the exception to the general rule of 36 months. So in 12 months item, we have first as an equity or preference shares which are listed in India. Then comes any security which can be debenture, government, securities, etc., which are listed again in India. Then an equity oriented fund unit, it may be quoted, unquoted. Then zero coupon bonds, again they can be quoted and quoted. Then units of UTI, again quoted or unquoted. So this is exception to the general rule of 36 months. Now moving on to the next part of the exception, that is 24 months category. Here we have equity or preference share. Now you will say here also we have equity and preference share, here also we have equity and preference share. The basic idea behind this 24 months is when it is in unlisted company. Further, we are having an immovable property being land or here we start with transfer of asset definition. Transfer is given in the section 2 subsection 47. So let's go on to this definition. So first item that is included in the definition of transfer is sale, exchange and relinquishment of asset. So let's see what is sale, exchange and relinquishment. When I actually sell or exchange it for anything other goods or currency, or when I relinquish that I am not now having any right on that particular asset. Extinguishment of right comes my second point, that is I am extinguishing. I am not observing or I am not enjoying right on my asset anymore. Third comes compulsory acquisition of an asset under any law. If under any law my asset is being compulsorily acquired by government authorities or any such authorized person. Next items in the definition of transfer are conversion of asset into stock in trade by the owner. That is, initially it was my asset and today I have started dealing into the asset or the similar items. Then I convert my asset into stock and then I start dealing into it, start trading into it. Then it becomes my transfer as per the definition. That event is termed as a transfer then. Again, next is a transaction of immovable property, which is mentioned in the section 53A of the Transfer of Property Act. So as per Transfer of Property Act, it should be understood if it is transfer here or the transaction is termed as transfer in the Property Act, then it is transfer in the Income Tax Act 2 subsection 47 as well. Further, it is any transaction which has effect of transferring or enabling the enjoyment of any immovable property. It can be having any effect of transferring or enabling the enjoyment of such immovable property. And the last is maturity or redemption of zero coupon bonds. So when zero coupon bonds are being matured or they are redeemed, by the issuing authority, then such transfer is also such activity or such transaction is also termed as an transfer. Rest part of the capital gain we'll see in next part. So thank you for the time, and hope you have understood everything. In case of any doubts, any questions, you can reach me at any time. Thank you.